Welcome to your Everyday Rich podcast.
Yeah, we're your host. I'm Jason.
And I'm Jen.
And my raspy voice is still with me. Welcome to this podcast episode.
Raspy Voice Edition.
Raspy Voice Edition.
Batman Voice Edition.
Welcome to your Everyday Rich. What are you talking about, Robin? Alfred. It's really annoying right now because there's the thing going around.
The cold.
And I finally caught up to me. And I don't know what it is. It's just the start of school season and all that stuff. And it just goes around, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, what I was leading to is like, your Everyday Rich is just living room conversations around several topics of millennials trying to navigate cultural weirdness, growing up in immigrant households. So, navigating money, navigating parenting unconventionally, navigating trying to life, parent, friends, friendship, work.
What else is there? So much stuff.
Yeah, stuff. And like, because of back to school and all that stuff, like, I would say like life balance feels like it's back to equilibrium. Right? I hate this term balance, but this whole like, when kids are outside of school, it's all out of whack.
Oh yeah.
It's all out of whack.
Just trying to find ways to occupy them. Yeah. They're bored. Like,
yeah, it's
once
crazy.
You're back in school, it's like, okay, you're occupied again.
Yeah. And it's just like, almost I relate back to like, when you're kind of like going through like a crazy project, or you're closing a big real estate deal, or you're like ramping up a flip or something, and you're kind of in that motion, right? Mm-hmm. Everything kind of feels like it's like, yeah, it feels crazy and hectic, but you're in the flow, and all of a sudden when you kind of done that project or whatever, you're just like, oh shit, what's going on, right? You're like twiddling your thumbs, and it's kind of like,
what do I do now?
Yeah. And then I describe when kids are just outside of school, it's almost like in between. It's like you signed a deal and all of a sudden you got to panic. You got to panic to close everything. So this question about, and this topic about like, life balance, quote unquote, work-life balance, call it the balance equation. It's bullshit in my opinion.
It is BS. It's a BS term. Work-life balance does not exist.
Yeah, it does not exist. And as much as
companies will try to sell you.
Yeah.
We have work-life balance here.
Isn't that one of the things that you guys were selling when you were interviewing people?
Oh, yeah.
Besides the culture of work? How do you sell culture anyways?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but...
Just make up stories and be like, yeah, it's a great place to work.
I hope your boss doesn't listen to this. Shout out to your boss. But like, yeah, like, okay, work-life balance, in my opinion, doesn't exist.
No.
Right. And we're big proponents, or I at least believe, is that it's more like a pendulum. Right. And I heard from a good friend of ours, Tony, and he was talking about this pendulum. And I was like, yo, that's a really good way to look at it. Right. And it may seem like, because I don't know how it started. Like, I haven't done any research on this. Okay. But like this whole work-life balance started somewhere where probably someone was working and they're all like, you know what? I don't like my job. I don't like how I can't control my life right now. Mm-hmm. I feel like my life problems should be my employer's problem to solve. Okay. And it's like, hey, you know what? I'm working too much, and I don't have enough enjoyment outside of work. Mm-hmm. My employer should be allowing me to not work so much.
Yeah.
And then thus this whole work-life balance thing was created.
Yeah.
Because think about it.
Work-life culture.
Yeah.
Work-life balance culture.
Who preaches it now? It's employers.
Employers.
But you think employers came up with this? No. So, then I went back and we're thinking about this whole thing. Like, okay, this topic of work-life balance is pretty important because we all go through it, right? Whether you're an entrepreneur or a 9-to-5er.
Doesn't matter.
Right. You don't have work-life balance. You have work-life priorities.
That's right.
Right. So like when we're thinking about our parents and comparing our parents to ourselves and to like, let's say younger generations, like Gen Zs, it's quite a bit of a spectrum difference.
Yeah. Different mentality, right?
Yeah.
Our parents came here as immigrants. So for them, they're like, I need to put all this time and effort into my job, into my career, right? To provide for my family.
Well, they had no choice.
That's right.
And that's the thing where I think we are so blessed to be born in Canada, or if you're born in the USA, and if you're born in North America, man, you are so blessed.
So privileged.
Privileged. Yeah, privileged. That you basically, the silver spoon of a North American passport, right? Because like you have the option of not having to work right now. People are like, younger generations, and we're observing, it's like they don't want to work.
No.
We're having trouble finding people. Not because of like lack of skills or talent. It's just because people don't want to work.
Don't want to work. Exactly.
Like in construction, you can't find trades. You know why? Because they just don't want to fucking work. And we're like, where are they? What are they doing?
Where are these people?
Yeah. What are they doing?
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, and I feel like millennials are kind of stuck in between. Like, you know, we saw our parents work so hard and hustle and grind. And even our mentors now, like our bosses.
Yeah.
Right. They're kind of like our parents' age.
Yeah.
A little bit younger, but around that, right?
Yeah. There's a generation between us. I just don't know what it's called.
Gen X.
Oh, Gen X.
Gen X, yeah.
Sure.
But like, they're careerists. I call it careerist.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas it's
they
like
put in the work in their career.
Yeah. That was it. Burn the midnight oil. It was just, that was the most important thing to do.
Yep.
Right. And there's
do well at your job.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, most of the high end VPs in my company are divorced.
That's sad.
Well, in a lot of companies, you see a lot of high ranking executives, like most of them are divorcees, something like that. But the cool thing about your company is that your two principals are actually still married.
They are.
I think they have great family values. But anyways, yeah. So that's something that we're observing, right? Whereas like, you know, our parents' generation, it wasn't about like, oh, I can just quit. Like this whole thing about quiet quitting now. Right?
That didn't exist in our parents' generation.
Quiet quitting? What the fuck? What? No, you're going to get your ass to work or you're going to be fired.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yep.
And, you know, truthfully, it's like sometimes I feel like there's a bit of this quiet quitting happening that has, you know, surfaced in the background of my life. Right throughout my later half of the career.
Yep.
Because you're kind of asking your questions. You're like, you know, what is this work boundary?
What am I doing?
Where do we?
Where do you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line? Not what do you do it for? That's another topic, right? That's like the whole midlife crisis problem. But like, where do you draw the line between work and your personal life? Because it's been blended so much now.
Especially with the whole work from home. It's even blended even more.
Yeah, but cell phones. Right.
Yep.
And emails made that whole blend like it was like you couldn't differentiate because your employer could like, hey, I want you to carry this phone.
I know. Yeah.
Right. And that was the thing. Remember, one of my employers gave me a phone, and I was like,
"Does it mean you can call me after 5?"
Yeah. Right. It's like, hold on a second. Wait, you can call me.
Are you expecting to email or an email reply at 8 p.m.?
Yeah. And this is the thing: is that it's interesting because a lot of my previous bosses, they would work really late. Right. And think of yourself, like, are you working late sometimes to catch up or whatever?
I do. Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah.
But we know people, and we know, you know, people above us in executive roles or whatever, they're fucking working like this every day.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy. So for them, there is no boundary, even though they say, hey, you know, yeah, we respect your work-life boundary. No, they don't.
No.
Because if they're emailing you
and they're expecting
you to
reply back, then there is no work-life boundary at all.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a bunch of hocus pocus. Just good for HR. But, you know, so that's the thing where I also see it on the other side where I get it. Like, you got to prioritize what's important in your life. But then also when what's that whole saying, right? Where good times make weak men, hard times make strong men,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Or women.
sure, okay.
Just saying.
I don't want to get into this. This is not the podcast to do that, but like this battle tested idea where I was thinking about, like, over the last couple of years, things have been going very well for a lot of people in general, right? In the investing community. Let's just call it the investing community, right?
Yeah.
And if you could relate that back to your own personal work life, if business was going so well and everything was just hunky-dory, everything was panning out exactly the way you wanted it to,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got into this one bad year and people just started quitting. Like, imagine that, like this whole thing about like employees, all of a sudden it's like when work gets hard, they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh,
Yeah.
Start quitting.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw. Whereas there's like a lot of people just like all of a sudden when investing got hard, interest rates went up, shit didn't work, like numbers didn't work. It's like, oh fuck, real estate's garbage.
Sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real estate sucks. Stock market sucks.
Mm-hmm. That's
No.
everybody. It's a lot of people's first reactions.
Yeah. No, it's just because you've been in
a bull.
In a bull run, you've been in easy times.
Yeah.
And that has created easy men or women.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So weak people. But for me, and I talked to a few people, I was just like, if I was running a team,
yeah,
I would want people to like go through the fire with me.
For sure.
Right?
Because what you'll come out of it is experience. Right? Like going through that hard time, whatever it is with your team, like you come up with the solution, you figure out what the issue is, right? Coming out of it, you're going to come out a lot stronger than before.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes some of that work boundary does have to stretch over, right? Because depending on what you do, if you're clock in, clock out, your job is like, doesn't require you to be accessible.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But most people have careers like that now.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to be available every once in a while, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's okay. This whole thing like, oh, don't call me after 5.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Like, listen, man, it's okay. Because first of all, you have caller ID.
Screen.
You can screen who you call and you answer, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, even if my own mom calls, if I can't pick up, I'm not going to pick up.
I think it comes down to, like, for me, personal experience, like, I obviously try to not pick up any work calls after 5. But I know when there is an emergency that needs to be dealt with, I will pick up or I'll answer an email, right? So it's, for me, it's choosing when to pick up and when to reply.
Yeah, and that's prioritizing what's important at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Just like